So good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
This is an exciting day. I'm so glad to be here. Oh my gosh. And so really, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Lori Medina. I'm the director of the Department of Social Services for Monterey County. And we are happy to welcome you today to our SHARE Center. And for those of you who are wondering, what is SHARE? It is the Salinas Housing Advancement Resources and Education Center. And so I just have to say that this has been long in the making. So many people before me really worked on this with the original vision. One of my predecessors, Elliot Robinson, who I cannot neglect to mention, really helped to usher this work in, along with so many others. And it's a great example of a partnership between Monterey County, the city of Salinas, our nonprofit community, advocates, the community really coming out to voice their concerns and give input about how this should look. So I have to tell you, this has been for a lot of people a labor of love and dedication so that we can create safety and security for all of our community. There are a lot of people who deserve a lot of credit who couldn't be here today or aren't here because either they have retired, they've moved on, some of them unfortunately are no longer with us, but you'll hear more about that later. So our supervisors, our city leaders have been, really so deeply involved in this. The supervisors, the mayor, the previous mayor, Joe Gunter, Ray Corpus, the previous city manager, Lou Bauman, who was also our CAO at the time when these discussions started, our current CAO. I mean, I could just go on and on. Supervisor Alejo, Supervisor Phillips, been warriors in these discussions as well. I mean, just so many people, and I just can't name them all. But I just want to tell you, we're just so happy and share with you this excitement today. And we are happy to get this program kicked off. And with that, I want to introduce our Honorable Mayor, Kimberly Craig, to share some thoughts.
Thanks so much, everyone, for being here. I had the honor and privilege of being on City Council for 8 years before stepping off in 2018 and coming back and finally seeing this project through. The thing that I really want to point out is the city and the county have committed to working collaboratively at all levels for reducing and ending homelessness over the next 10 years. The project is an example of the great things we can achieve through collaboration. The SHARE Center was built from the ground up, thanks to the partnership of the City of Salinas, the County of Monterey, and certainly the support of the Leadership Council of the Continuum of Care and Coalition for Homeless Service Providers. Leadership Council approved more than $6 million in funding from the Homeless Emergency Aid Program, which is HEAP funding. Yes, that's what got this built. But also the city and the county both contributed early funding to develop shovel-ready plans to be competitive for these grants. The SHARE Center is the first housing-first shelter in Monterey County. And what that means is a low barrier housing opportunity with no prerequisites for entering. So you can have pets. You don't have to necessarily have all of the requirements of those of some of our warming shelters within the community. It's a very low barrier to join and enter in here at the SHARE Center. SHARE Center is special because it will be more than a shelter. It will have space to shelter up to 100 city and county residents experiencing homelessness and will provide services in a housing navigation center model, including emergency shelter and wraparound services with that housing first approach. We're looking forward to seeing the Bay Area Community Services and the success that they've had up in the Bay Area and what they plan to accomplish here in Monterey County. We have great confidence in their work and are thrilled that they are operating this facility. I do want to acknowledge the work of Mayor Joe Gunter. Joe was a phenomenal leader for our community and had the ability, at a time when the city and the county were really arguing, had the ability to reach across the aisle, talk with county supervisors, really move the needle on homelessness. And I do want to acknowledge his family is here. His daughter, Jody Bennett, and his daughter, Taryn Eisman Gunter, are also here. That's how important this particular project was to Mayor Joe Gunter and his family. I also want to acknowledge, we have council members in the audience. Councilmember Orlando Osornio here supporting. Councilmember Anthony Roche is here. Councilmember Christy Cromines. We have retired Councilmember Gloria De La Rosa here. I think I got all my council members, if I'm not mistaken. Yell at me afterwards if I missed somebody. Certainly, Monterey County Supervisors Alejo and Phillips were very instrumental in pushing for this. So thank you very much for your leadership over the last several years. Additionally, I want to give a shout out to Chair and Supervisor Askew. She and I came on board in December, both with a commitment to work through difficult topics together. I'm very grateful for your collaboration and your leadership and commitment to collaboration. Thank you. Certainly, the Leadership Council of the Continuum of Care for Monterey and San Benito counties, the Coalition for Homeless Service Providers, particularly Roxanne Wilson, the Executive Director, the county and city staff, Steve Kerrigan and Charles McKee. You guys rock in terms of the text messages and the phone calls and all of the inner workings of it. Very grateful for your leadership. And of course, Bay Area Community Services. So thank you very much. I know we have a lot of politicians that want to speak today, so I will get down off of the microphone. But I do want to introduce Chair Wendy Root Askew for some words. Welcome.
Welcome, everyone. As I sit here, all I can think is that miracles happen. And the reality that this shelter represents is, being a part of the process and everything that leads up to something like this, it really does feel like a miracle that all of the pieces come together in the way that they need to. You've got a bunch of electeds sitting up at the front right here, but projects like this don't happen because those of us who sit in elected office have some big grandiose idea. It happens because the staff who work with our city, the staff who work with our county, the staff who work on our nonprofits, come together to work out the details, to find the funding, to navigate the contracts, and to really hash out all of the things that allow projects like this to move forward. And the other piece, yeah, thank you. We'll hear it for the staff. And the other critical piece, something like this doesn't happen because you have great staff people doing great work and electeds who have a vision. It happens because the community, the people in our community say loudly and clearly that all of our neighbors deserve to have a safe and legal place to sleep at night. That's what allows this to happen. That's what allows miracles like this to happen. So on behalf of the County Board of Supervisors, I just want to say thank you to my elected colleagues. Thank you to every single staff person who touched this project. And thank you to the community that spoke so loudly and so clearly, held the vision that we need to have safe legal places for everyone in our community to sleep and have opportunity. So with that, I am honored to introduce my colleague on the Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Luis Alejo, who has been a steadfast advocate for our unhoused neighbors. He's been a steadfast advocate for permanent housing solutions, and his leadership is one of the reasons why we're standing here today. Luis, it's an honor to stand here with you.
Thank you, Chair Askew. Thank you very much. I want to thank Chair Askew and also thank my other colleagues, Supervisor Chris Lopez and Supervisor John Phillips, for also joining us here today. Thank you for your leadership in making today a reality. As a Monterey County Supervisor of Salinas and as a co-chair of the Leave Me Home Leadership Council, which is our continuum of care, I want to really say that today is a historic day. As we celebrate the opening of this first year-round homeless Navigation Center in Salinas, accomplished in partnership between the County of Monterey and the City of Salinas. With over 16,000 square feet, this is the largest facility of its kind in our county's history. This share center will be a critical safety net for our most vulnerable in our community, and most who are women and children. But it is only a start to better address our homelessness crisis in our county, and we'll have much more to do in the years ahead. As a new county supervisor on March 16, 2017, I filed a referral to create this new center. The title description states, the temporary winter shelter in downtown Salinas is set to close in April 2017, and I'm making this referral to site and permit a year-round homeless shelter in Salinas and a smaller site in the Monterey Peninsula. Today, and almost 4 years later, we now have accomplished both. And I only wish my late friend, Salinas Mayor Joe Gunter, was here in person to celebrate with us in person. But I know he is with us in spirit. And I especially want to recognize the leadership of Supervisor John Phillips and former Salinas Council member Scott Davis, who were also real champions to get this project across the finish line. We had all gone together in a search to look at every possible site for this center in Salinas, and finally found a permanent home right here on this county property in my district. But let's be clear, our journey to reach this day was not an easy one. We had very vocal opposition, heated town halls, but we heard the concerns from our community, and they wanted us to better address this homelessness crisis in Monterey County, but they wanted us to do it right. And just like our temporary shelter on West Alisal Street, we will also manage this center with professionalism and without the stereotypes that are often said about such services. We have earned the community's trust, and we can provide services to our residents experiencing homelessness effectively, but most importantly, with dignity, compassion, respect, and never losing our humanity for each other. That's how we do things here in Monterey County. This is also about doing God's work. As my late father, who was a preacher, would often say, we are all God's children. But from this shining example, I hope that the City of Salinas and the County of Monterey will continue to do many more projects to help our homeless get housed and support them with effective services. Today, I have a couple of special guests joining me today that I've asked to come. On September 25th, 2018, we took a historic vote to approve the MOU between the City of Salinas and the County of Monterey to create this share center. There were many adults who spoke against creating this center, but that day, there were also 3 little girls who sounded like the adults in the supervisor's chamber that day, teaching and reminding the adults about compassion and having a heart for our most vulnerable. They had their talking points, and they read in part, when I grow up, I want to work hard to create shelters for homeless. And another read, I want to build a hotel, and then after a few weeks or a day, I want to give them money so that they'll get a job, then buy a home and live happy. That is what I want to do when I grow up for the homeless. Today, we have even converted the Good Night Inn here in Salinas as a hotel, as another place to house our homeless residents too. Well, 2 of those 3 little girls have rejoined us today to share a few special words. I wanted to acknowledge their advocacy to make today a reality. Let's please give a big welcome to Clarissa and Paola. They were 2nd graders then, now they're in 5th grade. Thank you both for helping us make today happen. Come on up.
Good afternoon, everybody. We want to thank Mr. Alejo for bringing us back here. I want to say that we're thankful for we have built a shelter for people that don't have homes to be called this a home. I want to thank Mr. Alejo again for bringing us today. And me and my sister are very passionate about this because it is very unfortunate that some people cannot be raised in a very good environment, and we just want to be, and we're very grateful that we are brought here today to speak about this topic.
Thank you very much. Never forget that you're never too young to make good changes happen in our community. Thank you, Clarissa and Paola. I'm very honored, and I also want to give a last shout out to our Public Works team for the county who really led the construction. Avila Construction, you did a beautiful job here on this site. We're very, very proud of your exemplary work. Lastly, I want to invite Ana Velasquez, the District Director for State Senator Ana Caballero, to also share some words. Let's give a welcome to Ana Velasquez. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Alejo. And I just want to say thank you for bringing our future leadership here with us, so our future elected officials. Thank you so much for that. So on behalf of Senator Ana Caballero, thank you. I'm privileged to be able to be here representing Senator Caballero, who is deeply disappointed that she's not able to join you in this historic celebration of the opening of the shared center. As was mentioned before, this is a housing first approach project that will most definitely be a model for other communities to replicate. Once again, we congratulate Monterey County as it continues to be a progressive leader in addressing homelessness and other issues in our communities. The Navigation Center, with its wraparound services for men, women, and families, is a significant step to addressing the overwhelming homelessness needs in the city of Salinas and beyond. This investment required the commitment of critical partners, as was mentioned earlier today, and those included the state, the county, the city of Salinas, who came to the table with a shared vision and with one common goal in mind: to provide housing to our most vulnerable populations. As you know, housing our homelessness has been a priority for Senator Caballero since she was the mayor of the city of Salinas, as a state assembly member, and also as your state senator. Senator Caballero will continue to support and approve state funds to battle and address homelessness, such as HEAP, that was mentioned earlier, that contributed over $6 million to the construction of this share center, as well as approximately $400,000 for operation and supportive costs.
Thank you.
She will continue to prioritize homelessness and will ensure more dollars are available for constructions of more navigation centers throughout. On behalf of Senator Caballero, I want to thank the Monterey County Board of Supervisors, the Salinas City Council, Avila Construction, and all the partners that are here today that made this day possible. And now it is my privilege to present Dominic Dursa, District Director for State Assembly Member Robert Rivas.
Good afternoon. It's a little intimidating to be in front of the portrait of the late Mayor Gunter. I'm so used to seeing those eyes on you. Sometimes it gets intimidating. But I really do want to express the regret of Assemblymember Rivas over not being able to be here today. I know both him and Senator Caballero, one of the reasons why they so much enjoy being at events like today is because of the theme that's been shared so often today, that collaboration that it took to get this center to be built. You know, the conversations that went on were not easy. I remember the community town halls that were being held that Supervisor Alejo spoke to. They were very much heated. I remember Mayor Gunter often saying, you know, don't worry, when those doors open, people are going to change their minds. And so I know Assemblymember Rivas truly wanted to be here to join in this celebration, because today is another step forward in taking on this crisis of homelessness. And it is truly pivotal when we are able to work together at a local level, at a county level, at a state and federal level, to find the resources needed for rural communities like ours to address these tough problems. So I'd like to thank the City Council on behalf of Assemblymember Rivas. I'd like to thank the Board of Supervisors. I'd like to say how much I like seeing personally this portrait of Charles Dredd McCall, who I remember very much. And thank you to all the staff who made today possible. Thank you.
Okay, well, it is my privilege now to introduce Megan Hunter, who is the Director for Community Development for the City of Salinas, who has really led with so much passion around so many issues around the unhoused. And so it's just my privilege to introduce Megan.
Thank you, Lori. It's great to work with the county. I think we've turned a page in terms of the city and county collaboration, and I do want to also acknowledge a couple of folks that couldn't be here today that were really also instrumental in applying for the funding and getting this done, which is Lauren Suwan-Supa with the county and Anastasia Wyatt, both who really were partners in this. And I also wanted to acknowledge Glorietta Rowland, who was also a key part of this process, and she's here today. So last summer, we lost two amazing advocates for the unsheltered, and those two individuals are represented behind me, Mayor Gunter and Izzard Dredd McCall. When it came to naming the Share Center, actually many residents wanted to name the shelter after these two great men. And so I'm tasked today with just telling you a little bit about these two individuals, and it is our intention to have something befitting of their contributions to honor them in the Share Center. We're still working on determining what that will be, but we will be reaching out to many in the community who really advocated for naming it after one of these two great men. Mayor Gunter was a tireless champion of services for the unsheltered. What was really impressive about him is he was always interested in learning about how to solve homelessness. He was always asking us what the best practices were. He, alongside his good friend and partner, former Councilwoman Gloria De La Rosa, were always pushing our department of ways that we can bring in some of these innovative best practices to address homelessness in this city. And it could have been a lot easier for them to say, just let the county deal with it, but they were really tireless advocates for pushing the envelope and seeing what could be done. So it was really great when the mayor and he found his compadres, I think, with Supervisor Alejo and Supervisor Phillips, joined forces together to really strongly back the construction of a year-round shelter with wraparound services at the site. And make no mistake, Supervisor Alejo alluded to this. This was very controversial. Supervisors Alejo and Phillips and Mayor Gunter were involved in a lot of very heated community discussions about the shelter. But despite that, the mayor was steadfast, as was described, in pushing forward with this effort. And he shepherded this through this approval through the county to construct the Share Center, despite all of the controversy. And I did want to also acknowledge his family for being here. He was proud of his children, his grandchildren, and I'm glad to acknowledge that Taryn and Jody are here today to participate, because I think it's fitting that they're part of this. Now I want to talk a little bit about Dred McCall. He was named Dred for his Rasta lifestyles and the dreadlocks that he always supported. He too was a tireless advocate for the unsheltered. Wes White, who's here today, they were strong friends and partners. They were documenting all the time life of the unsheltered, and they were really helping to demonstrate the humanity of those who are living on the streets. Sometimes we lose that humanity because we're always focused on the conditions that they're forced to live on. Dred was a leader in the homeless union, and he always, I think all of us who remember him fondly always think of him as having a kind smile and a gentle demeanor for everyone he met, regardless. But he might have appeared outwardly quiet, but once you met him and you really talked to him, he had the most profound advice. He was a great advisor. Dred really represents the face of homelessness in Salinas and the county. He was a lifelong resident of Salinas, and he was a Vietnam vet. The system really failed Dred. Yet, Dred always recognized that at the end of the day, unsheltered folks want the same thing. They want a safe place to live in and a purpose. And I'm so grateful for these young ladies who spoke, because I think they really point out the humanity of who we're trying to assist. This is why opening the Share Center is just so important. It provides that safe transition while helping people achieve their goals and find permanent housing. And I'm really pleased to say we had a lengthy search, and we found a great partner in Bay Area Community Services who really came out from the Bay Area and embraced this housing first approach and the things that we wanted to do in the Share Center, and responded to their request for our request for proposal. And I'm so glad that they decided to, and we're so pleased that we are going to be partners with them. And they're helping bring the vision of Mayor Gunter and Dred McCall to fruition. So I'm really grateful for that. And I again wanted to acknowledge the leadership of the current council, Mayor Craig, Mayor Gunter, in really helping us, and of course the partnership with the county, which was instrumental. And I also noticed Supervisor Lopez is here, and of course Supervisor Adams has always been an advocate as well. So with that, I'd like to introduce Jonathan Russell of Bay Area Community Services to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It is definitely an honor for us to participate and partner with the community in this effort. As I think about the future of this center, I can't help but think about moments in history and moments very similar to the moments we've lived through over the past couple years. The Kerner Commission in 1968 was a groundbreaking study that President Johnson set into motion after the long, hot summer of 1967 to examine all of the social disorder and the unrest and the uprisings in communities. And it was a 400-page document. And while the sweeping changes that really represented a very progressive, a very new way of looking at addressing issues of poverty, issues of injustice, issues of racism in our community, where it said, we fix these problems by creating resources and opportunities, developing robust social services and resources to communities that have been deprived. While those things did not come to pass, it did set in motion a new way of thinking. And as I drove down early this morning, I couldn't help but think through some of the groundbreaking words that were said there in that report, which is, we need new attitudes, new understanding, and most importantly, a new will to change these issues. And when I think about the Share Center, I see it as a representation of those new attitudes, which are welcoming, which are low barrier, which are inclusive. A new understanding that we have to focus on housing first, that we have to look at a trauma-informed approach, not what people have done, but what has happened to people, what has been their experience. And that we need to be oriented toward removing barriers to housing, not creating them. And it is most definitely Bax's honor to partner with this community. We are a community-based agency that's been doing this work since 1953. And we see ourselves as an extension of this community as we enter it humbly to support and partner with our staff, all of which are local from this community, from management down to our direct service staff. And as we join in this, we look forward to continuing the conversation of how we can best serve this community, bring our expertise and experience, and help to partner with this wonderful movement to focus on serving those with opportunities for housing that have so often been deprived. So with that, it's my distinct honor to welcome everyone over to the ribbon cutting.
Do the countdown.
3, 2,